Is YouTube slowly destroying your brain? The simple answer is yes. Everything that we consume is preventing us from having our own thoughts. When I used to listen to nothing but podcasts when I was on my quote unquote self help journey, for probably a year straight, I was listening to 5 to 10 hours of podcasts, reading audiobooks or listening to audible books, watching YouTube, all these things that you think are being productive and going to make you some sort of income in the future. It was rotting my brain away. And the way it was stopping me from being able to be creative in any sense. My thoughts were not my own. They were assigned to me by the people that I were watching constantly. You see this in the school system. Your thoughts are quite literally assigned to you. You're told what to think, how to think it, and which way to think it. You're told the proper order of thinking. You're not even allowed to think in different ways. And YouTube is no different. Most goals of people's videos are to persuade you to some sort of argumentative side, therefore convincing you to think a certain thought. And when all you do is consume and never produce and never actually take what's in your brain and try and express it and formulate your own thought, you're really just a walking NPC. And that's what I was for a very, very, very long time. And I still am. I mean, I think if you believe that you're not the victim to being an NPC, then that you're too far gone in a lot of ways. And that's not to say you shouldn't be getting outside information. You need to get knowledge somewhere, somehow. But I mean, you can see this very clearly in politics for the left and the right, the extremes of both ends. Their ideologies are tied to the political group that they're attached to. So the further that political group goes from where they started, the more they are forced to go with them. And I mean, I think 10, 15 years ago, if you asked people that were on the, let's say, far left, if they supported all this, the trans movements and putting puberty blockers on their children, preventing and basically sterilizing them, and all the other, I think, horrific acts that are really going on right now, those people, if you just ask them those simple questions, would call it crazy. But today, because the side that you were on has moved, let's say, from this far left to this far, you are forced to move with it, or you can no longer be a part of that ideology. The same thing with the right. I mean, like, it's just everything is assigning opinions to yourself. And when you're constantly watching YouTube or constantly watching, scrolling on Instagram, TikTok, watching the news, watching Netflix, consuming information, when you only consume and never produce, it is impossible to have your own thoughts. And it is a very, very scary thing to do, to sit in the darkness for a few hours and just think, because you come to the realization pretty quickly that you've never thought anything original in your entire life. And for the most case, no one has. There are not many original thoughts that have never been thought before. But most of what everyday people think are something that they were told to think from someone else, either from school, from TikTok, from YouTube, like you're currently watching right now. I mean, this everything, especially on social media, is made to grab your attention. The entire way you are rewarded is by people consuming your information. So what does that mean the creator's goal is? It means people who are making videos, their entire goal is to keep you watching as long as possible using whatever methods. And there are psychological methods to keep people watching longer. And I know this because my job, my business is helping very large brands and businesses help them grow on social media so they can get more customers. And so there are psychological ways that you can do to keep people watching a video longer, and psychological tactics to get in the head of the other person to persuade them in a higher degree to want to purchase something. And I mean, I don't do any of that on my own channel. I don't even know why. I mean, it would be a lot easier to grow. First off, I would never sell anything because I'm a dumb 21-year-old kid. I only work with real businesses. I would never work with anyone who sells courses or any of these garbage, just people who run actual large businesses that solve a real world problem. I would rather help them market the solutions that they've already found for the marketplace than me spend 20 years trying to build a product and then just take a cut of what I can earn them. But that is all besides the point of the topic of the video, of your opinions being assigned to you. For me, this stuff scares me because I know how my brain feels and how I function and how my thoughts work when I'm functioning on all 8 cylinders. And that is never after spending 4 hours scrolling on my phone. That's when my dopamine is at its lowest, when my cognizant ability, when my mental clarity, when my focus, when all the things that I really value, when my creativity, that is all at the absolute lowest after I spend the longest amount of time scrolling on social media, scrolling or watching Netflix or whatever the hell your vice is that you are doing. And I know that when I am the sharpest, when I feel the best, when I have the most energy, when all the things that I value from a creative standpoint to a focus to being able to work, when all of that is at its absolute pinnacle, it's when I am producing things, when I am expressing ideas, when I'm working out, when I'm doing things outwards and not consuming them in. And I think if you are spending more of your time actually producing instead of consuming, that was the main key for me to where I started to actually see the exponential progress in every aspect of my life. And now my favorite thing to do at night is not scroll on my phone. I still get the urge. Don't get me wrong. I still get the urge to want to scroll on Instagram or watch YouTube, but instead I try and replace that with just thinking. And I lay in bed and I'll daydream and I'll think. And for me, that gives me way better results from a actual satisfaction standpoint. It's as if I just watched the best YouTube video in the entire world, except I'm more so just crafting my own future in my head. And I have so much fun doing that. It is hard to put your head around. I mean, I am literally laying in bed smiling as hard as I can with my heart beaming of joy and just beating like a motherfucker because I'm so excited to wake up the next day when I really get into a good state. I mean, I don't even think that I think the goal of meditation is to clear your mind. I would say this is more so just being a child again, where I'm just daydreaming when you used to play with your action figures thinking that you were the absolute fucking man. I mean, you can do that same thing. And then eventually that for me, that kind of became the reality. I mean, I could picture myself where I am today a few years ago vividly. You know, I'm in the nicest area in the world. I can't even articulate how great life is right now. We got PJ in the back. This will be foreshadowing for tomorrow's video that we're already working on. There was a bit of a push-up challenge going on, and PJ's a bit behind. He's just been absolutely jamming push-ups this entire video. He has 35 left. You'll have to watch tomorrow's video to understand what we're talking about. But we'll see you in the next one.